They forced his mouth wide open, and without any anesthesia, they drilled out one of his front teeth. The director of the sanatorium said coldly, "That's the price you pay for sneaking into a restricted area." But Lockhart hadn't just wandered in by mistake, he'd uncovered a secret. He secretly slipped into a vehicle that was transporting patients down the mountain, planning to escape and call the police. The moment he saw the sheriff, he frantically blurted out that the director was running human experiments, and that even his boss was one of the victims. But the sheriff stayed strangely calm, saying he'd go get backup immediately. The next thing Lockhart knew, the person who showed up wasn't backup at all, it was the director. The director spoke gently, like he was trying to comfort a troubled patient. "Son," he said, "you're hallucinating again. Your boss is perfectly fine, right here." When Lockhart saw his boss standing there, he was completely stunned. For the first time, he started doubting his own mind. But soon after, he became convinced he really was sick. He noticed the toilet handle moving nonstop, so he nervously lifted the tank lid only to find it crammed full of eels, so packed they were about to overflow. The sight terrified him, but in the blink of an eye, every eel vanished. Even after he tore the entire toilet apart, he couldn't find a single one. From then on, Lockhart began cooperating with treatment. His expression gradually turned blank, and he followed every order without question. He even prepared to write a letter back to his company, saying he would stay here forever to recover. But strangely, writing that letter snapped him back to reality. He suddenly remembered his boss, who had come here for vacation, had once sent the company a nearly identical letter. It was like everyone only started getting sick after arriving at this place. That's when Lockhart finally realized something. He immediately ripped the cast off his leg. His leg wasn't injured at all. The director had been lying to him the entire time. Then Lockhart headed straight for a basement entrance he'd been suspicious of for days, because every night people were seen transporting bodies down there. When he went inside, he discovered a hidden laboratory. The place was filled with eel specimens and diagrams. And even worse, there was a terrifying mask made from human skin. Hanging on the wall was a portrait of the Baroness, and she looked almost exactly like Hannah. Could Hannah be the Baron's descendant? Near an eel pool, Lockhart also found several dried-up corpses, clearly meant to be tossed into the water to destroy the evidence. Lockhart stormed into the main hall and shouted at all the patients, telling them to wake up. They weren't sick at all, and the director was trying to kill them, but they'd been brainwashed too deeply. Instead of listening, they surrounded him. Lockhart was dragged into the 4 treatment area, where he saw something horrifying. The 4 bags were filled with eels. The director explained that the eels in this facility live 30 times longer than eels anywhere else, all because of the mountain water. But that same water didn't just cause hallucinations, it was also highly toxic to humans. So he came up with a twisted plan. First, use the water to purify the human body, then filter it through special equipment to create a non-toxic liquid that could grant eternal life. With that, he forced Lockhart to ingest the water and the eels, pumping everything straight into his stomach. Lockhart didn't die, but he became even more thoroughly brainwashed. Hannah had always believed Lockhart would save her and help her escape, but now she had no choice but to return the doll he'd given her, the symbol of hope. Her eyes were filled with despair, because the moment she got her period, the director decided she was ready and forced her to marry him. And tonight was their wedding night. But just then, Lockhart appeared. Somehow, the doll had helped him slowly regain his sanity, when he was only one step away from the truth. He found a drawing in a book about the Baron. It showed that the Baron really did have a daughter. Could it be that she was never burned alive by the villagers, but instead survived by using the Immortality serum to slow aging and live all the way to the present? Lockhart suddenly put the pieces together and rushed to find an old group photo from the early days of the facility. In the picture stood a man wrapped head to toe in bandages, alongside a young girl. It was undeniable Hannah was the director's biological daughter, and the director was the Baron himself. At that moment, the director completely dropped his disguise and became wildly unhinged. Lockhart tried to burn him alive with gasoline he'd prepared ahead of time, but he still couldn't overpower a monster who had lived for over 200 years. In the final life or death moment, Hannah grabbed a shovel and delivered the killing blow. The fire in the basement quickly spread through the entire facility, yet the patients kept dancing and celebrating like lunatics. In the end, only the 2 who had regained their sanity managed to escape, but what I found truly unsettling was